Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. I hope you're doing well today. I want to give you a heads up. I said this in my last video for Fright Vision Book 2. I am having such an issue with my allergies the last couple of days. I don't know what it is. It was kind of on and off the last couple of weeks because of the hot weather, cold weather, rain weather, so on and so on, changing around so much. Today and last night, I have blown my nose so much. I don't know if you could tell, but it is so red and so dry, and I feel like I've barely gotten any sleep. So on and so on. I hate seasonal allergies, dude. I have like chronic sinus mixed in with that, so it just keeps getting worse and worse every year, I swear. Anyway, I reviewed, or read, and I'm going to review right now, a review for a classic Goosebumps book from the old classic series. I took a break from the Horrorland for a little bit. This is a really, in my opinion, solid read, and when I advertised this as a public post on my channel, a community post is what they're called, I noticed a lot of people didn't really guess this one when I had kind of said it was one of the, to me it seemed like it was one of the lowest, like least loved stories of all of the Goosebumps classic series, or just Goosebumps in general. Seems like most people don't have anything but negative to say about this book. And I'm a little surprised by that, but then it seems like in the community post that I posted, everybody was commenting how much they liked this book. I don't know. Anyway, it's Goosebumps Vampire Breath. Yeah, I have the re-release cover that Brandon Dorman did. It is not as good as the original cover, even though the title alone kind of puts you off from the story. Now, I don't mind vampire stories. I'm a big fan of The Lost Boys, 1 and 3. Kind of 2, not really, but mostly 1 and 3. I know the Twilight kind of killed vampires for most people. I like the Underworld series, all kinds of stuff like that. I'm a big vampire guy, so I was kind of putting this off because of the title alone, Vampire Breath. I know we're talking about a middle grade kids book series, but that title alone is garbage. And then you have this really, really crappy cover. I usually like a lot of Brandon Dorman covers, especially for the Slappy World series. I think he really has a good idea for what he's doing. The covers like this are really what put me off. This cover just, it sucks so bad, dude. Give you a little bit of a closer look. Yeah, I'm not really impressed with that cover. Anyway, that's pretty much Count Nightwing himself, the main villain of the story, sitting in a coffin. This is a shorter book compared to a lot of these books. It's about 114 pages. And it flies by. It really does. And it's a fun read, dude. I had a really good time with this book. Until the ending, it's kind of notorious for a bad ending. I did not realize that I knew about the ending of this story until I finished reading the book and read the last chapter. Once again, like Slappy's Nightmare, like Monster Blood for Breakfast, the newest Monster Blood book from Slappy World, the last chapter pretty much ruins the whole book. It almost kills the excitement and the fun of this whole book. I must have seen this episode at some point in my life, because there was a TV episode adaptation from the 90s show, and hopefully I can sit down today and watch that and review it, or at least try to get a review out tomorrow or Thursday or sometime. This is a very solid read in my opinion. It's one of those books like Why I'm Afraid of Bees that I never wanted to read growing up. Had no excitement for it at all. Really had no factor to really look forward to in the book. And even reading the back of the back blurb. Of course, I usually avoid the blurbs on the back of the books. I just pick them up and read them, just to get something fresh and kind of exposed to the story from the get-go. Even the back of the book doesn't really tell you too much about what you're getting into. Basically, to start off with the premise, you have two characters. The main one is named Freddy, and his friend is over, and her name is Kara, or Kara, something like that, C-A-R-A. And they're hanging out, and they both consider themselves kind of tough kids. They're not really scared of anything. They also care. They take care of another kid they babysit, and they're kind of mean to that kid too a lot of the time. And surprisingly, unlike the Monster Blood books, that kid kind of goes and does his own thing. Kara and Freddy kind of do their own thing. One day they're going down to Freddy's basement. They have a finished basement, I assume, the way he refers to it. And they're kind of playing air hockey and stuff. He got an air hockey game for Christmas, which when was a kid ever saying they wanted an air hockey game anymore for Christmas these days? I mean, 90s, yeah, I had one too. Not like an electronic one, just kind of like a, a non-electronic one. You don't see kids wanting stuff like that anymore. It's a little odd. I never thought about that until I read this book. But it just shows the difference between my generation and a lot of you folks out there who are younger than me. It's odd, I guess. But air hockey rules, man. Who doesn't love that? Didn't you love playing that at like Chuck E. Cheese with the neon lights and stuff? It was great. Anyway, so the kids are hanging out downstairs, and they start getting to kind of a rough match. They start pushing each other around, beating each other up like they usually do, and as a jokey way more than a mean way. And Kara and Freddy push each other basically into this big cabinet filled with, like, I think it's china, you know, like china plates and stuff. And it falls over, and they happen to find a secret passageway door behind this particular cabinet. And they go inside, and they're already in the basement of the house. As they go inside of this thing, it keeps going lower and lower into a tunnel system. It's very dark and cold and dreary down there. And eventually they find a coffin, and in this coffin there's a jar with a label on it that says monster, or not monster blood. You can tell I'm sick. Vampire breath. And another scuffle between the two of them, trying to dare each other over stuff because they're both tough. They knock this thing over, and it opens up a little bit, and next thing they know, inside of that coffin that was empty, that only had the vampire breath bottle inside of it, now there's a vampire, a bald, Nosferatu-described type of vampire, just laying in there with his hands crossed over his chest and everything else. And apparently he's just sleeping. So I'm assuming either it had done something like they talk about in the book. I'm not going to tell you too much about the story. There's not a whole lot to the story. It's kind of a little bit of a readjustment in the story, like a little bit of a change of location, and then just meandering, and then a little bit of change of location, meandering, kind of like that. It's not the most adventurous Goosebumps book. It has some cool things that happen in it, though. Now, Count Nightwing at some point wakes up, and he can't find his fangs. Yes, for some reason his fangs are removable, which is stupid. Now, I love vampires. Like I said, certain stories, really dig them. Haven't really enjoyed a lot of vampire movies. Like I said, the big ones for me are like Lost Boys as a trilogy, but stuff like Near Dark I've never been a big fan of. I don't know. I'm just not a vampire guy for the most part. I love Dracula with Bela Lugosi. I love adaptations of Dracula, even though I don't really like the Bram Stoker book that much. Yeah. So it's kind of depending on what we're talking about, whether I'm a big vampire guy or not. I was curious to see how Stein could handle vampires. I don't think I've ever read any vampire stuff from him in the Goosebumps franchise. To my knowledge, I don't think I have. On the top of my head, I don't think I have. But Vampire Breath is a pretty fun read. I had a good time. I know the title's off-putting, and I know maybe the plot I gave you is not super engrossing, but it's a good read. I had a good time reading this. Again, kind of like Why I'm Afraid of Bees. I had people like Grayson the Goosebumps Kid recommend that all the time to me. And I think he recommended this to me a little bit too. And the book is really solid, just like how Why I'm Afraid of Bees was really solid. Like I said, just the ending is not the strongest it could have been. It just kind of ruined the magic of most of the book, like I talked about with Slappy's Nightmare, the old Series 2000 book, and Monster Blood is Back, the newest Goosebumps book at this current time. It's a shame. You know, it's a really big shame that it happened that way. But I had a good time with the book. I had a fun, small-time adventure. It wasn't really adventurous in the sense of a lot of locations and that kind of thing. Kind of small-scale stuff. There is a certain element to the story that I don't want to get into. It involves the vampire breath and what it does for your location. I'm trying to put it as vague as possible. I don't like that. If you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. Not a fan of that at all. I think that's a terrible, terrible mistake for the story. Again, the last chapter of the book is horrible. It's really, really horrible. I guess, again, at some point I assume I was exposed to the story somehow, some way, because I knew about that ending. I don't know when it happened, but I did. So, I don't know. Anyway, when it comes to Vampire Breath, I will be picking up a collection or a copy with the original cover from Tim Jacobus on it, because I really like that cover a lot more than this one. But Vampire Breath wasn't a loss of time. It was a pretty solid, enjoyable read. I had a good time. Again, that's all I really ask for from Goosebumps. It's all it's really meant to be, is entertaining. And I had a really good time with this. I had a fun time. I like the characters, Freddy and Kara. They were pretty fun to be the tough kids they claim to be. It was a fun, enjoyable read, and Count Nightwing is kind of threatening, too. I actually like some of the other things that happen in the book as it goes along. I just have a couple of nitpicks about it. Overall, when it comes to Vampire Breath, if I had to rate the book on a 5-star basis, I'd probably give it about a 3 out of 5 stars. I really liked it. I thought it was a good read. I had a lot of fun with it. It was crazy. It was wild for what it was as a small-scale adventure, like I said. But overall, have you read Vampire Breath? What did you think about it? Put your thoughts and comments down below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this. My nose is running really quick. Sorry about that. I didn't want to have any goo floating out. You know, that could be gross. Okay, so again, put your comments down below about what you think about the book. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. And I'm currently starting up a new Goosebumps book right now. And I'm enjoying this so far. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I'm enjoying it so far. I hope it continues to get better. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, 3 out of 5 stars for me. Had a really good time with it. Hope you enjoyed as well as I do. And again, take my recommendation on this. If you're not a big vampire fan either and you want to be kind of curious about this book, even though the title is awful and the blurb on the back of the book's not that great to begin with either, check it out. I think you'll like it. It's mostly a solid read. Just kind of a little, I want to say unbalanced, but not really. You know, it all works. Not really a whole lot of humor in here either. It's kind of just a dreary book, and I enjoy that. I don't mind that at all. Anyway, what are your thoughts? Put them down below. Thank you for watching. God bless you, and goodbye.